very warm welcome to all our viewers and welcome to a new episode of Africa Today, our program that brings you all the latest news and events happening inside the African continent. As usual, we start with a look at some of the news making the headlines, beginning with the latest developments in Nigeria, where the country is introducing new COVID-19 restrictions due to the spread of the Indian Delta variant in some parts of the African continent, prompting, of course, the health officials in Nigeria to add South Africa to the red list of countries of which there are stringent restrictions for any arriving visitors. We have more details in the story.
Nigeria said on Monday it was adding South Africa to its red list of countries for which there are stringent restrictions for arriving passengers. The head of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control said the country was introducing the restrictions due to the spread of the Delta variant in South Africa. The country confirmed that it hadn't found the Delta variant as yet. Non-Nigerian passport holders and non-residents who visited the countries on the list within 14 days are barred entry from Nigeria, whilst passport holders and residents must undergo a 7-day quarantine in a government-approved facility at a cost to the passenger. They were also required to take COVID-19 tests within 24 hours of arrival and after 7 days in quarantine. Nigeria is now expecting an additional 3.924 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine from the COVAX scheme by August 2021 and 29.8 million doses of the J&J vaccine through the African Union by September.
And on the sidelines of the global coalition to defeat Daesh terrorists, the Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry discussed the latest developments regarding the Ethiopian dam with several counterparts as Ethiopia gears up for the second filling. We have more details in this report.
Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry discussed on Monday the Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam with almost every counterpart on the sidelines of the global coalition to defeat Daesh as the rainy season approaches and Ethiopia gears up to fill the colossal structure unilaterally. Shoukry emphasized the need for a binding agreement on the filling and operation of the dam before the second filling in July, which U.S. State Secretary and Foreign Ministers of France, the UK, Congo, Guinea and Kenya thus far. Earlier on Sunday, presidential spokesperson Bassem Radi said Egypt has an unwavering position to achieve a fair binding agreement to preserve the historical rights of the two downstream nations, Sudan and Egypt. Radi said Egypt's territory is a desert with no rain and the only source of water is the Nile, and that its share of water is 55 billion cubic meters and 500 cubic meters per capita in a year, emphasizing that this is considered severe water poverty according to the standards of the United Nations. He reiterated that the water situation cannot be exacerbated, and so a legally binding agreement is a must.
And for more news, the executive directors of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, have praised Egypt's economic performance under the standby arrangement. They commended Egypt's strong performance under the standby arrangement, a result of the timely policy responses to the crisis and steadfast implementation of the program, with overperformance in key program targets. We have more details in this story.
The International Monetary Fund said on Monday that Egypt's real GDP growth is expected to rebound significantly in fiscal year 2021-2022 to 5.2%, up from the projected 2.8% for the current fiscal year. The comments were made during a press briefing about the risks Egypt's macroeconomy is likely to face in the next fiscal year. The press briefing was held virtually on the occasion of the completion of Egypt's 12-month standby agreement loan program, which was announced on Wednesday. Egypt's macroeconomy faces three risks, including uncertainty the pandemic imposes on all economies, slowdown in the vaccine rollout, and the elevated public debt level and growth of its financial needs. Egypt thus needs to continue setting a balance between maintaining its recovery efforts and preserving its financial stability. The IMF has meanwhile said it was continuing its technical support programs with Egypt and a sharing policy advice. On Wednesday, the IMF Executive Board announced the completion of the second and final review of Egypt's economic reform program under the SBA, allowing the country to receive about 1.7 billion US dollars, the third tranche of the loan.
And we're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest, Dr. Pasanta Fahmy, our economic expert and former MP. Dr. Pasanta, very good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you so much for joining us, Doctor. Now, the IMF's final revision of Egypt's economic reform program has allowed the state to draw $1.7 billion in funding. How do you read the final report, the latest report by the IMF on the Egyptian economic development?
The remarkable performance which has been achieved and realized by the Egyptian government is seen by everybody in the world.
Yes.
Economics are figures and facts. They are not opinions. So our performance has been exceptionally, and I repeat, exceptionally positive, especially during this complicated period of COVID-19. Why is that happening? Because we had a very clear vision when we established our strategy, which is the 2030 strategy. This is a very sophisticated one, built in a very professional manner, so that we are, whether you had COVID or no COVID, you will perform positively. And we depended on, as well, on the fact that the Egyptian economy is very well diversified.
Yes.
That's a major point. Second, we enjoy an excellent, how do we say, environment. And we have 50% of our population actually young, youth. So your location is uncomparable to anybody else. So we made in place a 2030 plan, has been very, or as I said, deeply discussed and perfectly discussed at the parliament, approved by Mr. President, and followed up by Mr. President minute by minute. So the performance is seen by everybody, not only the IMF. And that's why the IMF made the decision to reimburse us with the last portion. It's going to be very important because we have a very long strategy to achieve. Would it be in new cities? Would it be in the agribusiness? Whatever. And we have as well give big attention to three major points. All our strategies were taking into consideration. The first thing is how to keep the temperature of the globe at this level or even diminish it. This is a very important point, that the increase of the temperature would hurt the whole world. The sea could increase, the level of the sea could increase by 13 meters. And this, of course, will affect a lot of seashores. Second, we worked on the supply of food, because the food for the whole world, due to the change as well of the climate, is becoming a scarce commodity. So we worked on the green economy and the blue economy. Third, all our plans are directed for the good of the people, meaning so that you enjoy stability, you get all your rights, whether it be education, health, culture, way of living, the development of big plans like the 1,500 village we are actually improving the standard of life in there, the governorate, the new city, you name it, it's a very long list. And that's why when they saw this impressive performance, they don't have except to approve the third portion. Now, they didn't only approve it, but moreover, they said that the expectation of the growth for the coming period would reach 5.7% in the GDP growth, not like the expected previous one. So, alhamdulillah, the performance is very remarkable, and that's why they approved the disbursement of the third part.
Absolutely. Doctor, now, the IMF also added that the proactive economic policies that have been undertaken by the Egyptian government really helped shield the economy from the repercussions of the coronavirus crisis and maintain the macroeconomic stability as a whole, as well as really increased investor confidence that Egypt managed to surpass this period of time economically viably. How do you see this, Doctor?
Well, the most important part when you make any plan for development, with economic development, you have to have a clear vision. You analyze carefully what is how the future will be be developed. You analyze carefully your point of strengths, weaknesses, the opportunities you have, and threats in front of us. So when we did all that, and I repeat, in a very professional manner, we were able to how do we say, to deal with all the problems which occurred after COVID-19. But I repeat that our weather helped us a lot, because we have a very acceptable weather. We could work 365 days in the open air, middays and nights. So all our projects continued as they used to plan to be. We didn't stop anything, because you stop when you work in a closed areas like factories. This is not the case in Egypt. Egypt has a very, very acceptable weather. No heat, excessive heat, and no excessive cold. So the weather helped us a lot. The environment as well helped us. Our location, geographic location, the vision of the people taking care of the economic growth. So it's a bunch of, how do you say, strong points helped us to do this, and continue to do that. And I expect even in the coming years to come, after all this infrastructure is still there, the development will go much faster than it is planned for.
Absolutely. We've also seen in the report published by the IMF that they have scored the need to deepen and broaden structural reforms to address post-pandemic challenges for most countries, and as well to, unleash Egypt's enormous economic growth potential. What kind of reforms would those be, Doctor, in your opinion?
The world has changed. We have to speak, all of us, the same language. And when we talk economic policies, the whole world has to understand it. Talk fiscal policy, monetary policy, those are the reforms which should to be looked at carefully, and they should comply to what is happening in the whole world. You see what I mean? And as well, we need to restructure many activities and many sectors in Egypt, because we have problems dating decades in the past. So we need to do some structural reforms to deal with those problems on the level of, how do you say, the working power, on the level of standard of living, on the level of education, culture. It's a long list. But at the end of the day, we need to do some structural reform, which is the phase 2 of the economic reform. But I repeat, it is going in a very positive manner. And they are watching with us every day and helping us sometimes when we need really to perform as everybody else is doing. And I'm repeating, the whole world should look like the same, speak the same language. When you talk banking, the same language, fiscal policies, monetary policies, economic policies, the human rights. We should speak the same language like the whole world is speaking. So we cannot work on our own, and the structural reform will help us achieve that goal, inshallah.
Absolutely. Right. One final question, Doctor, if I may. The government has been working and planning to subdue any concerns related to financial shocks, for example, in the market, especially with regards to the post-coronavirus era. How do you see this as an important step by the government to shield the Egyptian economy in this regard?
Because you could expect anything, and because we're becoming part of the world, and because technology is affecting every aspect, you need to put in place different scenarios for the future.
Yes.
Meaning, when you manage your economy, you don't do it day by day. It's a vision for the future. You put different plans. When you work on the worst case scenario, put plans to deal with it. So we are doing this very professionally, and there's no problem to do that.
Right.
But what they are saying is that we see the future, we see the world, because I repeat, technology became the language of the world, and we cannot deny that we need to work a lot on that aspect to develop the technological part. Yes, we are doing, yes, we are achieving, but still we need to be like everywhere else in the world, because we are inviting companies, or we call them the 100 largest cross-border finance companies in the world.
Yes.
If they wish to come and work with us, they need intelligent cities. And some people say, why do we do intelligent cities? Because you need to invite those people. Can we do without them? No, we cannot, because they are controlling the economy of the world, the commerce of the world, etc. So we need to comply to what is happening in the whole world, speak the same language, apply technology in all aspects of our life.
Right.
And I think now everybody is accepting and realizing that it will continue to do.
Absolutely. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Dr. Bassant Fahmy, our economic expert. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Likewise. Thank you, doctor. And that's all the time we have for today's edition of Africa Today. We do hope you have enjoyed it. You were in the company of myself, Angie Meher. Many thanks for watching.